I would like to start with very simple questions. What did you expect sending your video to the Tchaikovsky competition?
Well, I cannot say that there was a specific expectation. For sure, I was waiting to have a positive answer because I wanted to qualify, but it was not that I expected something. Let's say I hoped for it.
What was it actually?
Well, it was the area of Procida from I Vespri Siciliani. Verdi, also La Calunnia, and for Tchaikovsky romance, the one that I sent was Primilenia.
And it was 3 pieces?
Yes.
3 pieces. And you didn't think it during the competition?
No. I didn't want to repeat a piece sent already in the video round. I mean, we have a big repertoire, so I thought it could show lack of repertoire. It's not so interesting to sing pieces again and again.
Okay. Did you prepare specifically for this competition, or it was part of your program?
Well, actually, the thought of participating in Tchaikovsky competition was something that started getting in my mind many years before. First of all, my mother is half Russian, half Greek, and I was raised in a house that passed on me the legacy that this competition carries on, the tradition. And I could hear artists that were either in the jury of it or that have started their career after winning in Tchaikovsky competition. So when I decided that finally I would follow this path for myself, always in my mind was that if I want to participate in one competition, this one would be Tchaikovsky for me, and for personal and sentimental reasons. So
is your mom a musician?
Yes, she is a piano professor.
She's a piano professor.
Yes, my father was also for some years he took in some productions. He was a member of the Athenian Opera House choir. He was a baritone. He was the one that first took me to see an opera performance. So the program, I've started setting my mind about the program many years ago, and the idea was mainly about the arias. And my father, as a joke, when I was getting ready to give my diploma in the Greek Conservatoire, told me that get out on stage and sing the 3 big male roles that are written for a bass: Wotan, Boris, and Filippo. And I told him that if somebody sings that in one program together, aged around 26, then probably it would be the last thing that he will ever sing. But this idea stuck in my mind that if somebody wants to go to Tchaikovsky competition, it means that he must compete with the very highest level, being the highest level. So the 3 Mount Everests that a bass can sing is from the Italian tradition, King Philippe, from the Russian, Boris, and from German, Wotan. So I thought that if I'm going to participate, I will have each and every one of them for each round. I thought that starting with Wotan would be too much, so Philippe. Then again, having Boris in the final among with another Russian aria, which would be from Tchaikovsky, again, it was not an option that I would love to have. So I took Boris for the second round and Wotan for the finals.
Okay. And now I understand why you are singing so good Russian. Yeah, you have studied it with your mom?
To be quite honest, when I was much younger, aged 4.5 to 5.5, I spent a year of my life in Kiev, where my great-grandfather was living, and my mother made her after classes in the Kiev Conservatoire. Then I was speaking quite fine in Russian. When we returned to Greece, my mother told me that she was speaking to me at Russian and I was responding only using Greek language. I don't know why. I was 5.5. I have forgotten. Later, when I started singing, and actually 3 years after I started singing, I was lucky enough to meet with the great Pata Butchuladze. I was in the Athenian choir. We had a Nabucco production, and he heard me and told me that it would be very nice for me if I could study with his teacher, who was living in Kiel. She's Russian, and therefore I realized that I must again begin working on my Russian language so that I could communicate with her without having anyone there to translate. The first time my mother was there in order to be the translator, but then if I wanted to go on further starting with her, I should do it by myself. And so I began again training little by little on my Russian. Okay. The good thing is probably the accent mostly stayed with me. Vocabulary, not, but accent is in a decent level.
I think you think without accent. You have already participated in other competitions.
As a singer, as an artist, I never liked or have sympathy for competitions in total.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I participated in a competition for the first time, it was with Wagner competition in 2016, which was nevertheless somehow also a competition for students in order to support their studies. So I was trying to find ways to support my studies in Dresden, and I heard about the competition. I took part. Apart from that, as a child, the only competition that I wanted to participate was Tchaikovsky, because for me it's completely different from any other competition of nowadays, at least, because also somebody could say the same words for Queen Elizabeth sometime before, and also it remains like that for pianists, also for Chopin competition. But apart from these competitions nowadays are mostly, it does not have to do so much with art, with artistry. It's about who is more perfect. And in opera world is also more about who can do the job.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're a theater, a big theater that has many productions per year, and you need to have people for these productions, maybe not for the leading parts. What you are very much interested in is go to a competition and see somebody who is flawless technically, so you can trust that he could carry on singing 70 performances per season. This is the main interest. Of course, if you find something that also in terms of interpretation and artistry is in a high level, that's also interesting. But most of the competition nowadays, I think, have a big distance from the essence of art itself. Mm-hmm. This is what separates, for me, Tchaikovsky from other competitions. It still has to do mainly with art. And in any case, for me, it was something personal and sentimental as a childhood dream to participate in this competition. This was the only reason why I participated also in Belvedere. I wanted to train myself for Tchaikovsky, because I thought that maybe it's not a good idea to go for the first time in a competition if this competition is Tchaikovsky. I wouldn't have any experience about how I would handle my nerves,
What did you think when you moved on to the finals? What was it surprise for you?
Quite honestly, not. This time I had expectations that I could be one of the finalists. After the first round, I was not feeling so confident, but I had hopes that what I did would be good enough to go to the second round. But after the second round, this is a discussion that I also had with relatives of mine, that after what I did in second round, it wouldn't matter so much if I'm passing to the finals or not. Inside of me, I thought that I gave and that I communicated the thoughts, the feelings, my ideas, my interpretations in the pieces that I wanted in a good level. So inside of me, I was already happy. Of course, I wanted to be in the final, but I was already satisfied with my performance from the second round, which is not the case for the final.
Yeah.
I had people asking me, what did you think of the competition, of the other contestants, which was the atmosphere? I didn't pay any attention to the other contestants. I was there 1000% concentrated exclusively in my job. I was getting to the Mussorgsky Hall 10 minutes before singing and I was leaving after it. I didn't want to start calculating, seeing the level, which is the competition. I was strictly devoted to my plan. Hotel, getting somewhere to eat, having a rehearsal with my pianist, who was lovely, amazing pianist. I was very lucky having her. She helped me a lot. She was an amazing musician, and the way we communicated from the very first time we even saw each other, didn't even have to play, was already enough. This was something that I told my father. I didn't have to make a rehearsal with her. When she came, I looked at her eyes, she looked at me, I knew I was there. And I'm very, very happy for that. And yes, I didn't pay attention to anything else. I just wanted to do what I have set in my mind as good as I can. I'm not a person that pays much attention to the acoustic of any specific hall. Most of the times I'm concentrated to how I sing, so for me it doesn't make a big difference if I'm singing to a room which is one beat on my one or if I'm singing to 2000 seats hall. It's the same procedure, and mostly I'm using my inner ear and the feel, not the response. Of course, when you have the response, it's great. I mean, when we made the gala at Moscow, it was mind-blowing. It was the very first time that I opened my mouth and I had the feeling that there is a monitor in front of me sending my voice back to me. It was amazing. But apart from that, most of the times I'm following the exact same strategy and the exact same way of singing, no matter which the hall would be.
What about your acting talent? You have trained it specially, or it's a
No,
part of
no.
your nature?
I have never done acting lessons, and also what I'm trying to do when I'm on stage is not to act exactly. What I'm trying to give is a most direct, sincere, and honest interpretation of what I'm choosing to sing. Let's say that the pieces that I choose to deliver are the ones that help me give this impression. Because for me, the procedure is always I'm selecting pieces many times also according to the text. And the very first job for me is not the music itself, but the text. I'm having the text in front of me, I'm reading the text, trying to find what this text says to me, what it means to me, and then what I want to say, what I want to communicate to my audience through this text. When this procedure is ready, most of the times the technical tools that I need for this piece are already there because I know what I want to say with it. And this is my aim, my goal. Communicate my thoughts and my feelings with my audience as much directly and honestly as I can.
Important questions. You cried when you were declared the winner. Did this competition mean so much for you?
Yes, definitely. It was a picture that I had dreams of it years and years ago. Not being the winner, but just being there. So apart from being the winner is huge. Is huge for me. I couldn't even I didn't expect it also. I, after the after the first aria that I sang with René, I was far from being satisfied from what I did. And also I was hearing the excellent interpretations for the tenor, or the flawless and very nice, musically lyrical interpretation from the baritone who took the second prize. And I can say that after that, I was not very optimistic. So Wotan was in a better level than René. But again, I wasn't expecting it that much. I wouldn't put my money on myself, let's put it that way. So it was, yes, it was amazing. Knowing that no, finally it worked out. Probably considering all 3 rounds together. This is what, in my mind, this is what led the jury to this decision. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. Just my thoughts.
But anyway, the competition is a big stress for singer, for you.
Yes, of course. It's a big boost for anyone that has a prize at this competition. It can help careers. It can help people to get to know who you are. But for me, it was not the purpose of participating in it. I mean, I was already very much satisfied by being in Dresden, being in a very, very well-established opera house, and also the rhythm of my career's development, the new parts that I have to sing, is already in the level that I would like to have. I don't want to rush up things and don't want to push things further. Of course, it can open faster some doors, but again, it depends on which parts the other theaters would propose to me in the future. If it's a part that I believe it's wrong for me now, I would decline it, even if it was the biggest theater. If it's the right part, of course, I would do it gladly.
Would you like to participate in any other competition now? No. Enough.
Enough.
Do you have some new plans?
There's nothing fixed yet, but there are some ideas already on the table, and we will see what I can do also, because I'm still a member with the contract at December. So we will try to see how we can combine things. Of course, having the chance to work with Maestro Gergiev would be extremely interesting and an honor for me. And he told me that he would be interested also bringing me in Mariinsky maybe in the future to do something together. I would like not just to have a concert in Mariinsky. For me, what's mostly interesting is to have the chance getting in St. Petersburg and have some time in order to work with him, create something with him, study with him. I wouldn't do Baris now in any case. Baris for me is something that comes minimum, I would say, 7 to 10 years later. Maybe preparing an aria or a scene for a concert is an option, even though I don't believe I'm going to use it much because it's too early for me. But to take over the whole part is something that comes much later. I mean, as a base, I'm 30 years old right now. It would be impossible for me to have the maturity to take over, but it's not vocally or technically, but mostly in terms of interpretation, to have the maturity to deal with Pushkin's text in the whole of it, because when you sing Baris, it's not that you must only deal with the text that Baris himself has, but the whole piece. Not only the libretto for the opera, but get to have the book that Pushkin wrote and not understand just, I want to read it in Russian, and I want to be positioned, understand every single word, not just the picture of a phrase, the meaning of a phrase, but what every single word in this book means and how is it pronounced, how would a Russian native give gravity to each syllable, how it would come out. After that, you're in a different level of you're in a different position to deal with it. It would make a very big difference in how I would interpret it on stage. So seeing that it took me almost 1.5 years to prepare just the monologue in my head before started singing it, for the whole part I need much more. Being a basso cantante, I want to add on mostly lyrical parts, which means bel canto. I would like to have the chance to sing Raimondo in Lucia, be in a Puritani production, sing Oroveso in Norma, Sonambula, about also have slowly get into Verdian parts like Fiesco, having the chance to sing Banco, the two parts in Aida, Silva, Procida, then Philippe, by the age of 35, more or less, in my mind. So this is a direction. Leave the heavier parts for much later. It's not the right time to do it now. And I don't have to do it. I mean, a bass, mostly we are singing, and the characters that we have to deal with are middle-aged persons or of older age. I'm 30 years old. I have all the time in front of me. And also our voice is a voice that if you take good care of it, we can sing for many, many years. So there's no need to rush at all.
And no Wagner?
Later on, I mean, having done bel canto parts and having the experience of these parts on stage, for sure I would have interest to move forward in Lohengrin or do Heinrich in Tannhäuser, König Marke in Tristan. If you're about to ask me for Wotan, the answer would be almost the same with Baris, the last things that I would deal with. Wagner is also more dangerous for a young singer because it's not that you are going to sing in Bayreuth, so you don't have to scream over an orchestra that could possibly play loudly. With bel canto, you have more security that the orchestra would be more controlled, would be smaller, and would not play so loud, so you can sing in a lyrical, light way. With Wagner, this is not always the case. It could be that you begin pushing and screaming in order to get over the orchestra and deliver your sound to the audience. So this is something that I wouldn't like to do in the next few years. The main thing is do your job. Don't consider it as a job. We are very lucky to do what we love as profession. We can serve ourselves our dinner by doing something we love. This is a luxury. So stay focused on what you love to do. Do the biggest research that you can do in what you're doing. Get as deep as you can. And if you do that, it will benefit you back. I believe so.